When last you guys gathered on Icewind Rime of the Frostmaiden, you had found yourself in the Icewind Dale, where you've been for the last couple of years, actually. The entire region has become locked in ice, in a perpetual, never-ending winter, being the people that are there have been cut off from the rest of the world as the pass to the southern lands through the spine of the world has become nigh impassable, and the sea of moving ice has become nearly frozen over. Supplies running thin, and the people struggling to survive. You've eked out a living doing odd jobs and adventuring around the region. The locals in the area are blaming the goddess of winter's fury, a goddess by the name of Reel, who they've been attempting to appease, each of the towns making sacrifices in their own way, the larger of which are sacrificing people to Reel, the smaller of which are sacrificing food, warmth, and whatever else they can manage. You've managed to accomplish some things around the Icewind Dale. You rescued the mead town of Good Mead's supply and of honeymead, and being terrorized by giant-like creatures called Verbeegs, and rescued a couple of children that had been captured by winter wolves held by a mammoth that was the pet of a killed frost giant that had been killed by some previous adventurers. The mammoth blamed you all for the death of his former master, eliminating those and returning the children to the town of Dugan's Hole. You gained a little bit of a reputation. You had been hired by a former local adventurer in the town of East Haven to seek out a killer that had been murdering people with daggers of ice. She believed that the murders were being committed by a man named Sefik Calchero, who was a worker for a traveling band of merchants named Torgas. She told you that she would pay you in gold, 200 gold pieces for taking care of the killer. She said she didn't trust the local guards, and that if you were able to bring proof of his demise, that would suffice. That she was certain that he was the killer, that all of the killings seemed to be following around Torga's traveling band, and that he seemed to have what she called the kiss of the Frostmaiden. That was Hillen Trollbane, was the former adventurer in the town of East Haven that had hired you. You were also asked by the captain of the guard in East Haven to help him find some local fishermen that had gone missing out on the ice. And he said he was overwhelmed with the near riots that were happening as supplies were running low. In fact, he'd asked you this during a execution that was happening in the town for murder. A wizard of sorts who had tried to disguise himself using a disguise self spell, but was spotted because of his strange gait and cadence. He had hired local adventurers to do a job for him, which was not exactly described very well to you, but then had murdered them after said job. The townfolk of East Haven seeking revenge upon him. You later learned, after passing through Dugan's Hole and heading up to Bryn Shander, there was a band of local dwarves in Bryn Shander who had been carrying some iron ore, pure iron ore, from the Dwarven Vale south of Kelvin's Cairn, which is the volcanic mountain in this region, heading to Black Iron's Forge, that is the largest blacksmith in the town of Bryn Shander, and their traveling caravan, or their sled, had been attacked by a yeti, killing one of the 4 dwarves in the party. The other 3 fled back to Bryn Shander and asked your assistance in bringing back the cart, telling you that they would give you the gems that they carried with them, each worth 50 gold pieces. You did so, finding the sled no longer there, but the body of the slain dwarf Ubak in the snow with his head torn off and his limbs ripped apart. You followed the trail to the sled, finding that it had recently, after having been destroyed by the Yeti, been taken by a band of goblins that were traveling along. You slayed the goblins, burned down their goblin cart, along with basically all of the goodies that were in it, and managed to hitch your way back. While making camp for the first time basically in the woods, you had a couple of strange experiences. Cadillac saw a beast with piercing eyes that stared at him through the snow, and Yatara seemed to have a vision of a woman that opened her mouth and frigid cold air blew out over him, and he could see her piercing blue eyes, and then he awoke with seemingly nothing happening. You made your way back to the town of Bryn Shander, where you met up with the dwarves there that had hired you. And they told you that the main one that had hired you was Harana and his other companions. And they gave you the gemstones, each worth 50 gold pieces, and told you that if you would be willing to take the ore to Black Iron, that you'd be able to get a discount. On your way back to Bryn Shander, you encountered said Yeti that had slain Ubak, the other one of the 4 dwarves, and did it in with Cantrell's character, Harkus, skinning the Yeti and taking the Yeti pelt back with him. While back in Bryn Shander, you went back to the North Look, where you had met Harana and his compatriots, and you overheard rumors that the fish supply had been running low because no fish had come out of East Haven, as a band of people that the city had sent looking for the missing fishermen had not returned, and more fishermen had gone missing from East Haven. And in the biggest lake on this side of the Icewind Dale, some beast had been toppling the small boats that they were able to push out onto the ice. The large boats frozen in place and unable to sail, fishermen had been walking smaller boats out and able to fit them through the cracks in the ice, but apparently some rumors of some beast has been knocking them over and drowning the men. So no more fish seemed to be coming, and Scramsax, the barkeep, told you to eat up, and this might be the last bit of it. That's where we find ourselves now. You're in the tavern in the North Look. It is morning time after you've stayed the night, and I'm going to take you there right now. Let me just bring that up. As you get up in the morning, the audio companion for the North Look going. As you get up in the morning, you receive a message. Harkus, that is from the local seamstress. You had taken some items, some bear pelts and a couple of crag cat pelts, and had paid for winter coats. And you received message that your coats and garments are ready to be picked up from the local seamstress. Sweet. The 3 dwarven chaps are still hanging out in the bar. They stayed the night as well. And it's next morning, so you are all rested. Everybody can take a long rest if you have not done so. And what do you do?
Can I do something in the room before I come downstairs?
Yeah, sure.
Can I take a closer look at the ring that I found last night? And see if there's anything to it?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I need to attempt to identify it or not, I can do that.
Do you have the spell Identify?
I do. Typically I tell knock-knock jokes, but I think I would sing the old Bitey song instead.
Okay. So you just repeat the old Bitey song over and over again?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm doing this as a ritual though, so that I don't burn the slot.
Yeah. All right. It is a red stone ring that has a sigil on the end of it. If you cast Identify on it, you have learned that this is a ring of swimming.
Okay.
Can you It has some initials scratched into it, like engraved on it. Underneath it, if you...
What are the initials?
If you're looking at it, hang on one second. I will tell you. Apologies. I didn't have that immediately ready. Okay, the initials are HM.
Okay. And can I do one more thing while I'm in the room before I go downstairs? Can I take out a dagger? And is there like a headboard in the room or anything like that?
A headboard?
Yep.
Sure, we'll say yes.
Okay. So in my bird language, which I think is Aran, I don't know how to say it. Aran?
Orin.
Orin, yeah, sure. I'm gonna write Toot was here in my language.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yep.
Are you making it obvious? Are you making it obvious or hidden?
I think it would be maybe behind where the pillows are, so like whoever's making up the bed would notice it or whatever, but like it's kind of hidden.
Okay. Yeah, you write Toot was there in Aran.
Yep.
The language of the birds. It is also the language that is spoken in the elemental plane of air. It sounds like breathing if when spoken. It's like almost.
I imagine it's kind of like a scribble. Like it doesn't look intelligible.
Yeah, like I'm not sure that anybody would make it out as language.
Probably just looks like it was defaced.
Looks like bird scratchings. Okay. What's everybody else doing? Toot has identified his ring. And he's scratched his name into the wall. You know about the murders. Oh, you also heard rumor of another murder that happened in the town of Torgos. In the bar. Targos, which is a nearby city. What's everybody else doing? What are you doing, Granny Guts?
I think I am just enjoying a little bit of, let's see, what do they have for the morning fare? Just some morning gruel?
Yeah, it's the same sort of leftover like soup, but they're basically out of fish at this point.
Right.
It's like there's like some shellfish kind of things and that kind of stuff, but
yeah,
not much else.
So I just think I'm taking in the room and enjoying a little bit of that soup for breakfast and enjoying not being exhausted for the first time in a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Leonard, what about you?
I'm listening to see if anybody's talking about, because what Leonard is trying to figure out is where he's going to get the most exposure and understanding of people doing people things. And he's really intrigued by these murders because he doesn't understand really why people would kill people with ice. So I want to see, is anybody talking about the Torgus murder, or is there?
Yeah, roll. Oh, are you talking to people? Or you just listening?
I'm just listening. I'm just
then roll perception. Oh, nice. Yeah, there is talk of the murder in Targos. As you're sort of listening, you get the handle, Leonard, that the three biggest cities, or if there are cities, in all of the Icewind Dale would be East Haven, Bryn Shander, and Targos.
Okay, so this is like more of a big deal. I mean, it's not like a backwoods country. It's not a Dugan's Hole murder.
No, it's not a Dugan's Hole murder. But you also learned from Scramsacks last night that murders just don't really like happen in this part of the world. Like it's relatively like human crime. It's the biggest city. It's one of the biggest towns. but there's not a lot of like murdering. There are like fishermen that get into fights, and sometimes people do get killed, but like serial killers. Imagine like in the 1970s or something when like BTK was terrorizing Wichita. You know, like it's a town where they don't have it's an area where they don't have a lot of serial killers. So everybody's talking.
Despite the bitter cold and curse over the land, it's sort of an idyllic northern.
Would be.
Right.
It's a lot of fishermen. It's a small town. Or it's a small kind of area mostly. It's not like the big cities of Waterdeep and Neverwinter. You know, it's murders don't happen a lot.
Yeah, so Leonard is definitely interested in finding the murderer and figuring out that little mystery. That's sort of where my
So what you overhear is a couple people that are sort of sitting at tables that are talking and say, "Yeah, you know, I hears the old Miller had it coming. He and then you sort of hear, don't say that. Anybody getting stabbed through the heart with ice is terrible." And people are just sort of generally yammering about it a bit. It's shocking and surprising, and one happened here in Bryn Shander not long ago. So the people are sort of worried, you know, could it come back? Where's this killer going? That sort of thing. Nobody seems to have made any connection to Torgas like Hill and Trollbane did.
Okay, and we talked last time. That's sort of the direction that Torgas.
That's the direction that Torgas was taking. When you asked the captain of the guard, they had filed basically like travel plans, as the caravans do. They were traveling from East Haven to Bryn Shander, to Targos to Bremen, and then they would, after Bremen, they would make their way back to probably Termalaine next. So they would go all the way back up to Bryn Shander and then up around the lake to Termalaine.
Yeah, hearing bits about it and hearing it brought up again, that's really all Leonard can keep on his mind. That's all he can think about is who is this guy.
Last one was in Targos, and it happened about it happened a few days ago. It's been a few days, but there's definitely a murder in Targos. What about you, Yatara? What are you doing?
I'm going to walk over to the fire.
Okay. There is a fire that's going there, keeping everybody pretty warm.
I think I'm going to pull out the opalescent stone that I found and kind of inspect it through the light of the fire.
Okay. Yeah. As you sort of look at this stone, it shimmers with lots of different interesting colors. It has sort of a radiance to it. It's you can tell that it's special. It's beautiful in the light. Every color of like the rainbow, like golds and even colors that are not in the rainbow. Reds, blues, greens, golds, silvers even, sort of shimmer off of it as the fire catches it. It's like an opal, but even prettier. You can roll, I guess, Arcana, see if you've ever encountered anything like this before. I don't know if you have. See how well you roll. Roll good. Oh, wow, yes. Yeah, the DC was 20. You got that. This stone's definitely got magic abilities to it. You've seen, you're not exactly certain. I think you'd have to, hang on a second and I'll tell you what you know about it. You know that you've seen other like wizards and magic users carry things like this, and you just get the sense that this is like a good thing to have. Like it has some sort of enhancing abilities to it. Like when you can tell that it has some sort of I'm not sure what school of magic it would be, but you could tell that you would have to attune to it. But like it's a good thing. It's some sort of powerful magical thing that you found. Without identify, I think that's about as much as you probably know, even with a good 22. You know it's magical. You know it's magical. You know that it grants you like some sort of enhancing abilities to yourself. Like it makes you better at things somehow. You've seen other like magic users carry something like this to sort of enhance themselves. Are you choosing to try to attune yourself to it?
I am, actually.
Okay. If you're going to spend the hour to attune yourself to it, you have 3 attunement slots. This is a Stone of Good Luck, or a Luck Stone. While you're attuned to this stone, you gain a +1 to all ability checks and to all saving throws. Not attack rolls. So not your ability checks. So like if you had to make a perception check, it gives you +1 to perception, +1 to arcana, +1 to athletics, and to all saving throws, which is really good. Stone of Good Luck. All right. Harkus, you've received a message that your pelts are ready. Coats are ready.
Yeah, so after breakfast, I'm going to head there to pick up the coat.
Okay. What are you guys doing with the? Are you guys traveling over to Black Irons to deliver the iron agates, or are you just going to leave them with the three dwarves?
And didn't they say that we would get a discount if we were the ones that delivered it?
Yes. Piranha said they would be willing to give a discount at the blacksmiths if you have anything that you need to purchase. Okay. So you're heading over to the seamstress, and you make your way out into the Bryn Shander streets. And she has your pelts ready. She hands over, I can't recall how many coats you had ordered.
7 of them.
All 7?
Yep.
All right. She hands you over enough coats for all of your party to be warmly attired. So as long as you don't get wet, you're very warm. And
excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah. She asks you if that will be all or if there's anything else. Any other business you can do?
I'm going to ask her, I'm going to show her the Yeti pelt and ask her what she thinks would be the best use of that.
She says, well, Yeti is rare, but it has incredible insulating capabilities. It is hard to work with, though. To cut it and to process the leather to make it into clothing is much more work than bear or wolf as you brought me here. I would be willing to buy it off of you, though. I promise you won't find a better price anywhere in the Icewind Dale.
What kind of a price could I fetch for?
She says, a fresh Yeti pelt? We could probably go as high as 15 gold.
It seems a little low for the amount of effort that it took to get this Yeti pelt.
Roll persuasion.
Oh, come on.
She looks at you and she says, okay, 20 gold. I promise you will find nowhere else in the Icewind Dale that will offer you a better offer. In fact, I am the only one that can even work Yeti material. 20 gold final offer, or you can lug it around with you, I suppose.
To be fair, it took you 0 effort to get it. It took us a lot of effort for you to get it.
I just assumed that Harkus would be the one immediately skinning it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I know that's how it would work.
No doubt.
All right, I'll take the 20 gold.
All right, she gives you 20 gold pieces and takes the Yeti pulp and says, "It is my pleasure doing business with you. If you come across any other fine fabrics, please. I'm always open."
And I'm always looking for fine fabrics.
Where are you guys going now?
Market roulette. Just kidding. Just kidding.
You can go to the market. There's not much of a market right now.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna squander the 20 gold on a ring that becomes invisible when I put it on.
It's a ring of invisibility. You put it on and the ring becomes invisible. I take the ring off. You can't find it.
I'm going to go back and meet up with everybody else.
Yeah. So everybody has met up. You have made your way out of the North Look. They've sort of come along, tagged along. Are you guys heading to Black Iron's Blades? Are you heading out on the road somewhere? What say you, party?
I feel like we should deliver this, even if we're not buying anything from them right now. I'll say to the rest of the group.
So say we all.
I
Okay.
agree.
All right. You haul the stuff over to Black Iron's Blades. And my Roll20 is acting up, so hopefully it loads properly for you guys. You make your way over to Black Iron's Blades. There is a elderly chap that is working a forge on the outside. I still am not loading the background. All right, there it goes. There's an elderly chap working the forge on the outside that sees you all approaching. Skies are quite overcast, and he is hammering away at something and looks up at you as you approach with the sled full of iron and says, "Oh, excellent! You must be delivering for Hrana. This is the iron, correct, from the Dwarven Vale?" He looks at you, Leonard.
Yes.
Well, excellent. Come in. Name's Garn Oathstone. I'm the lead blacksmith here at Black Iron.
Well, I'm glad we were able to track down the stuff you needed. It wasn't easy.
So I hear. Times have gotten tough. Rana and his crew, I heard they were attacked by a beast on the road. It's a shame. Indeed a shame. Well, your bringing these wares are much appreciated. I, as agreed with Harana, the person that delivered the iron, you may have a 20% discount on anything in the store. If you wish to peruse, my wife runs the shop. Just tell Elza that I said you could have it. She'll listen.
All right. Tell Elsa he said we could have it.
Yep, 20%.
So Leonard is in the market for a better weapon.
Okay.
Because we've got this booming blade cantrip, and really haven't been able to use it because I've got just a crummy hand axe and a mace. So I'm looking for something a little better.
All right, Leonard, you're able to walk into the shop where an older dwarven woman encounters you, and she says, "Customers, welcome to Black Iron Blades. I'm Elza. What can I get for you, Master
Leonard.
Leonard? You look like a man.
Person?
You look like a individual that would work with perhaps a pike or staff or something of the like.
One-handed and pointy?
We have short swords. We have rapiers.
What about... Is a pike one-handed or two-handed?
It depends on the skill of the pike wielder. Typically two.
I kind of like the idea of like a pole arm, but well, I guess I can use a two-handed weapon.
We have pole arms.
Do I have proficiency? I have proficiency in simple weapons.
I can tell you what are simple weapons and what are not. Let's see here. Simple weapons are quarterstaff, sickle, spear, mace, light hammer, javelin, hand axe, great club, dagger, and club. Simple ranged weapons are light crossbows, darts, short bows, and slings. So like a glaive, a scimitar, trident, those sorts of things, those are martial weapons.
Okay.
So like a lance would be what you're sort of thinking about. You know, that's a martial weapon. So you don't have proficiency in that. But you can do a spear.
So
they do have spears and they do have javelins. Those are simple weapons.
So a spear can be stabbed or thrown.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me look at upgrading to a spear, and I'm going to mention our 30% discount.
She looks over at you, and as you mentioned 30% discount, she sort of cocks her head to the sideways. Roll persuasion. She says, "Who told you 30%?"
No, he said.
Who?
He said to tell you, your husband.
Garn?
Garn said, tell her you can have it.
She immediately walks over and throws open a door to the forge and sticks her head out there, and she says, "Garn! What is this about 30%? Garn looks over and says, They brought the iron. Wait. I told him 20. She looks back at you and says, 15.
I thought he said 30, 50. Oh, okay, 15.
15.
Is it a well-made spear?
She hands you the spear, and do you know anything about weapons?
I am a warforged. I've seen a lot of weapons.
Okay, roll me insight.
All right, insight. I'm gonna see. Do I think this is a good one?
It looks really good.
All right.
Spear
50.
looks really good. It's well made. It's got nice iron on it.
Okay, 15%. Your quality speaks for itself.
She looks up at you and says, "Well, you may want more than one. How many spears are you looking at? If you throw them, going to get them. Unless you're just gonna like stabby with it."
I thought I would just stabby with it.
Oh, well, if it's just one, 15% discount will be 1 gold piece.
Maybe let me take 4 just in case.
All right, 4 spears, 4 gold pieces.
Okay. All right.
Discount she goes over to a little sheet of paper. Yes, 4 gold pieces.
4 gold pieces. Remove. Manage inventory.
Is everybody else in Black Iron's Blades? Is anybody else making any weapons purchases?
I would like
Every
to
manner of weapon
take-
you want.
I would like to take a look at crossbows.
They have heavy crossbows, light crossbows, and hand crossbows.
I think that I'm proficient with hand. Need to double check.
If there's any weapon basically any weapon that anybody is not proficient in, or any weapon that you do not have, that you would want your character to have that you didn't start with or you haven't found, they pretty well have it for sale.
Yeah, I'm
And a 15%
proficient
discount.
with hand crossbows.
As you're looking at the hand crossbows, she comes up and says, "Ah, excellent choice.
Thank you.
The weapon of the sophisticated, the nobility. Are you looking for such an item?"
I am, and do you have the bolts to go with it?
Yes, of course. The ammunition is. I tell you what, you buy the crossbow, we'll give you the 15% discount, and I'll throw in 20 bolts.
Does it really have to be 15%? I mean, our friend over here, I mean, he's a robot. Honestly, the programming, we've been working on it, but I mean, there's just something off here.
I agree. Full price it is. I'm just joshing. She thinks about it and she says, "Hand crossbows are expensive, Mr. Birdman." She doesn't know your name. I said two. She doesn't know your name. She says Birdman. "Hand crossbows are expensive, Mr. Birdman. They are fine craftsmanship. The
I see.
stringing, the tension that has to go into them.
They're quite beautiful. You did this yourself?
Oh yes, indeed. You like it. You see the
It's
and
very
she starts going
impressive.
on about she she's flattered by you. She says, "Well, normally hand crossbows they normally, even in the city of Waterdeep, they would go for like 75 gold pieces. I shouldn't do this." Roll, you're trying to butter her up?
I'm mostly trying to fix what Leonard broke.
Okay.
But yes, I'm trying to butter her up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what role I want to call for to see how well you do it. Performance, maybe? You can guide yourself on this if you want to.
Sure, I would be happy to do so. Performance?
Yeah, we'll say performance as you're trying to like put on a buttering.
Oh God. With a D4.
14. That's not bad. She looks over and she says, "Well, in the city of Waterdeep, a hand crossbow goes for 75 gold pieces. Here in the Icewind Dale, it goes for 100 gold pieces. I'll give it to you for 50.
I'll take it.
All right. For 50, or do you have 50 gold pieces, or do you just have the gem worth 50 gold pieces?
I have the gem worth 50 gold.
She looks at the gem and says, "Yes, she'll exchange. She'll make that exchange. Hand
Okay.
crossbow and 20 bolts for the gem."
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else got anything they want to purchase? Cadillac?
I would actually, I walk up and I say, "Well met, Cadillac Granite Guts."
Elzal
pleasure to meet you.
Stone, proprietor of Black Irons Blades.
Many fine wares you have here.
Indeed, Garn is a man of many talents.
First order of business, might I add to your collection?
Oh, you're selling?
Yes, I have a
What have you?
well-seasoned warhammer.
Oh, okay. A Warhammer. Let me take a look at it. She looks at your Warhammer and says, "Is there anything special about your Warhammer, or is it just a generic Warhammer?"
It is gilded with the finest of oak leaves.
Really, is it?
Yes. Let's say yes.
She looks at it and says, 20 gold. That's better than you'll get anywhere, I guarantee it. The Warhammer averages 15 gold. I sell mine for 15 gold. I'd give you one for 12. If you want to buy a second one, it'll be 12 gold pieces.
Okay, my grandmother wove me this Warhammer.
Roll persuasion.
Okay.
For your grandmother's Warhammer.
Whoa.
She says, grandmother's Warhammer. Let me see that again. Picks it up and looks it over and says, this is a family heirloom, is it not? Garn is going to kill me. 50 gold. I can't do any better than that.
I guess I could let it go.
She gives you 50 gold pieces and takes your hammer.
Okay. Now, I would like to take a look at your pikes.
Oh, but of course.
Do you have any specialized ones? I have a regular one, but I wouldn't mind having one of a bit higher quality.
Well, we have halberds. We have glaives. Besides the spears that your friend is purchasing. We have regular pikes. For your your information, pike does is 5 gold pieces. A glaive is like 20 gold worth. The difference is pikes do piercing damages, glaives will do slashing damages, halberds do the reach is a little bit longer.
Yes.
On some of them.
Yes. I like the fact that my pike has reach, but I wouldn't mind it doing just a hair more damage. Do halberds have reach too?
Yes, they do. The damage between a pike and a halberd and glaive is relatively similar. They're each sort of like a
flavors of the same theme.
Similar, yeah. Some of them are a little bit more valuable than the others. They're sort of similar in terms of flavor and stuff. If you're looking for more damage,
I was looking for like a poison tipped pike or something like that. Something a little bit special.
I see. Well, poisons typically are applied to the blade. If you're looking for something that is carries magical abilities, I'm afraid that none of our wares have that. She says, but some of our items potentially are of good enough quality that it could receive magical. It could hold an incantation if you were able to find somebody that could enchant such a weapon. She looks at your pike and says, no. I don't believe you would find anybody that could cast a spell upon this thing. But she says, either one of these, and she walks over and pulls up this very, very fine looking glaive and says, but the quality of this one would be good enough, I think, to be able to hold a incantation of sorts.
Very interesting.
If you were able to find such an individual. I'm very sorry we don't deal in the arcane arts. Garn is a fine blacksmith, but he is not a magician.
So, what would you let it go for?
She says, a glaive of this quality, masterwork glaive, 20 gold. So, masterwork glaive.
My grandmother always warned me about glaives. I'm not sure.
Well,
I think I'll
perhaps-
take it.
all right. So you can mark down masterwork glaive.
Okay.
If you were looking for something, actually, if you were looking for something with a little more damage, what she advises is a lance. So, like, if you wanted a higher damage dice, she doesn't have anything that is. It's usually used mounted, but it doesn't have to be because you're sort of a strong dwarf and could use it to stabby you. It does more damage, but she doesn't have any masterwork ones that would potentially hold, like, could be enchanted. The glaive is the most masterful thing she has.
I like the idea of the lance. Instead, what would the lance go for?
The lance would go for 10 gold.
You know what? I'll take the lance instead of the glaive.
Okay. Grab a lance.
Yes.
And add a lance. All right. What's everybody else doing? Anybody else purchasing anything or doing anything at Black Irons? All right. As you conclude your business there, you're back in Icewind Dale with where in Bryn Shander, on the streets of Bryn Shander. Where are you guys headed now? I'll bring up the map if you like. I've just loaded Bryn Shander. I'm sorry, I'll load you the map of Icewind Dale. So you're here in Bryn Shander. Last murder happened in Targos. Fishermen have gone missing in East Haven. And boats are not running out of Bremen because some beast is knocking them into the water, apparently. So fish supplies are running short. Murder happened in Targos. You know that eventually the caravan was headed towards Bremen. Where are we going? I'll let the party discuss.
And then if they went to Bremen, they'd have to double back to Targos to ultimately go to Termalae. So if they haven't,
Potentially.
if we're chasing down the traveling caravan of murderers, we might catch them either on the way back to Targos or
Unless they loop around the lake to Lonelywood.
Oh, there's another road. Sorry, I was just looking at the red dotted lines.
Yeah, they would be trails. Like, it's not so much a road. The red dotted line is roads, but you know, they sometimes caravans and things like that would, if they were going to make a loop, would sort of loop around the lake. So you don't know. They might double back.
Okay, well, my vote is to turn this into a true crime podcast and catch a murderer.
Okay. What say Harkus and Yatara and
I'm good with that.
Yeah, so my Targos is very close anyway.
I think there are several reasons to go that direction.
Okay. So
Let's go get 'em.
Not going towards East Haven, moving towards Targos. The trip to Targos is not terribly far. Between Bryn Shander and Targos, the time is about 2 hours. Is anybody doing anything on the 2-hour journey? If not, that's fine.
I will have handed out the new coats to everyone.
Okay. Everybody grabs coats.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you make your way into the city of Targos. And I'll put you on the streets of Targos. Let me find Targos. Hang on. All right. You land outside the gates of Targos, and there's a guard at the gates that stops you and says, "Halt! What business have you in Targos?"
I'll tell him that we're looking to catch up with Torga's traveling menagerie, whatever they were.
Looks over at you and says, "Oh, you're traveling merchants? Well, come in. You'll find lodging at the Luskan Arms. If you need drink, 3 Flags Sailing. Or I'm sorry, you'll find drinks at the Luskan Arms. If you need lodging, 3 Flags Sailing."
Do you know, have they left already? Have they moved on, or have they come back through? Sort of.
He looks over at you and says, "Merchants come and go."
Okay, but like, have they come and gone recently in the past few days?
Merchants come and go every day. Your merchants, you're coming and going.
Fair enough.
Are you? He does not seem incentivized to like try to divulge anymore. The guard just sort of looks bored and like is sort of like waving you in.
I'm just going in. I'm not handling his foolishness.
So I actually hold a piece of gold in my hand and just sort of twirl it around, and I say, it's funny. It's how people just come and go, but sometimes we remember things under the right circumstances.
He looks up at you and he says, I might remember things. And sort of puts his hand sort of out a little bit.
And so I drop the gold piece close to him and I say, "Oh my goodness. I guess you should pick that up lest it get covered up in the snow."
He picks up the gold piece and brushes it off, puts it in his pocket, and says, "Who are you looking for exactly?"
So would love to know what was it? Whose menagerie was it? Torga's.
Icewind.
Yes. Torga's menagerie.
Torgs. Yes. They were here. I recall her. Banner with a wolf.
Mm.
They sigil with a wolf's paw on it. That's her mark. Says, they were here. They left out about 2 days ago, I think. They were headed north. On the trail out towards Bremen.
Did they happen to share what business opportunities were for them in Bremen?
I mean, they're traveling merchants like any other merchant. They sell their wares. They buy things off of others, such as you. They'd sell them along their way. I can tell you this: that Torga's a mean lady. I wouldn't want to cross her path.
What makes you say that? What have you seen?
She has a reputation. She's just somebody you don't mess with. Says, well, I know they'll set up camp there in Bremen for a while. I don't know where they're headed after that. It'll be one of a couple of things. They'll either come back by here and then make their way on back down around, or they'll loop around the lake, picking up Lonely Wood and Tourmaline. My guess is that they'll double back and come back towards Targos. What you looking for them for?
Oh, we're just interested in engaging with them and seeing their wares. We've heard things.
He sort of raises an eyebrow and says, Now listen. If you've got a beef with Torga, let me give you a piece of advice. She's got some nasty, nasty dudes that are her bodyguards. It'd be best to wait until they're not operating, so to speak. When business is closed, and he's sort of flicking the gold piece between his fingers. Business is closed, her bodyguards go their own separate ways, so to speak. And if you're looking to beef with Torga, if I was going to do it, that's when I would do it.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you make a good point. Some trades are best done one-on-one without a crowd. You are most right.
He sort of winks at you and says, just don't cause any trouble here in Targos.
Wouldn't dream of it.
It is getting a little bit late in the day, as you have spent a good bit of time at Black Irons and purchasing your Yeti pelts, and there was 2 hours of travel. So it's like 4 o'clock, and the sun is starting to set a bit. He says, if you're looking for staying, I would recommend the Luskan Arms. But be safe. You find yourself sort of entered into the town onto some cold streets. There is a lake there with a couple of docks, and there are boats on the docks, all frozen up. The building that you have approached right over here is the Luskan Arms.
All right. Leonard going to walk into the Luskan Arms.
Okay.
I'm following.
Leonard thinks he has figured out how negotiating with people and getting information works.
Okay.
So he's got a plan.
All right. You make your way into the Luskan Arms. And as the door creaks, you are able to enter. I'll describe the scene to you all. I'll describe the scene to you all. The Luskan Arms is what looks like maybe the oldest public house in the entire area. It has like a nautical theme to it. There's a burning hearth in the center. The floors have like broken boards in it. And there are a bunch of what look like kind of beat up fisherman types, a little bit of a rough looking crowd, sitting around eating what looks like terrible stew of some sort. Roll me, who's leading the first way in? I guess it's Leonard, followed by Toot.
Yeah, Leonard sort of barreled in, inspired.
Leonard and Toot, you can roll perception real fast.
$18.
Leonard, you see a rat that darts by and jumps down into like a hole in the floorboard. Just like really quickly. Sort of scurries around and you can sort of hear it squeak. As you enter, there is a human man behind the bar that says, "Welcome, travelers. Welcome to the Luskan Arms, the oldest inn in all of the Icewind Dale. All of the 10 towns. Can I interest you in an ale? Or some stew?"
So Leonard's going to go over to approach him. Going to ask for an ale. And then he's going to hold out a gold piece and drop it on the ground and say, "Oh, you should probably pick that up before it gets covered in snow."
The bar provider looks at you and he has the ale mid-pour. And he sort of pulls it back and says, I think you ought to pick that up, my good sir.
I'm
Place it
gonna,
on the bar here. We don't want any. I don't want any trouble.
I'm gonna walk up next to him and just take one of my gold out, put it on the bar, and say, I apologize for my friend. He is obviously learning.
I'll try to assist with this and just say, we've really got to work on that programming.
He looks all over at all of you and says, oh, "Very good, I suppose. Here's your ale, sir." And he takes the gold and says, "This is enough to buy all of you around if you want. If all of you want an ale."
And I'll have
pours
some
ale.
stew too, please.
Oh well, I'll need another silver piece for the stew.
And I'll hand him 2 silver pieces.
He sort of nods and says, "Thank you, kind," and walks into sort of another room and brings back what should be fish stew. You're not certain if it actually has fish in it, but he sort of slides it over to you and says, "What brings you all to to Targos?"
So I'll tell him that, you know, as I'm trying to figure out how interactions with people go. Apparently that's not the way to do it. We're here. We heard about a murder.
He sort of hushes and says, "Terrible tragedy, indeed."
And would you be able to tell us anything about the man who was
Kendar?
murdered? We've heard some things.
Kendar Froth, the miller. Yeah. Well, just rumors. And he sort of like taps his fingers on the table and sort of like
I'll try putting a gold piece on the bar.
he sort of taps his fingers and sort of slides them over the gold piece and sort of flicks it over, and it just like expertly like flicks it and it like lands in his other hand. And he says, "Kendar Froth the miller. He if you haven't been here, you're obviously traveling. Targos has made sacrifices to the Frostmaiden. Rumor has it that Kendar's name came up in the lottery. Those that are sacrificed are cast out into the lake. They're tossed into the waters with nay clothes on to be sacrificed to the Frostmaiden. It's a dire business. But in such times, Kendar managed to get out of his sacrifice. And he sort of darts he sort of darts his eyes across the room. And almost as if like looking at somebody, like he sort of was like pointing with his eyes across the room.
Like at a specific person.
Yeah. It says Kendar's managed to get out of his duty. And he says, if you ask me, it's the curse of the Frostmaiden. Frostmaiden got what she wanted anyways. He got out of the sacrifice, but the dagger of ice found his heart anyways. But those are just rumors.
Do you know if he was murdered before or after Torga's traveling circus came through town? Traveling merchants?
I don't know anything about a circus.
Merchants.
Torgus.
Torgus.
poor guy's fine. He sort of thinks on it a little bit. Says, come to think of it, there was a traveling merchant in town when Shindar died. When Shindar was found dead. Yeah. They had a yellow banner with a wolf's paw on it. They had set up down by the docks, selling random things, mostly foodstuffs and of the sort, but didn't think much of it at the time. But now that you mention it, yes.
But they weren't selling spears of ice or anything like that you know of.
Heavens no.
Oh, no, just thinking broadly here, just curious.
It's a funny coincidence. I had not thought about it previously, but as you mention it, yes, there was a merchant in town. They left a day or so ago. And she says, she darts her eyes back across the room again, looking at somebody, and says, be careful. Can I get you rooms?
Can I
yeah.
a performance?
Yes, please.
What do you do to start performing?
Yeah, I was asking, can I interest you in a performance?
He looks over and says, what kind of performance?
I mean, I'll just have to show you. At that, I won't even wait for an answer. I'm going to climb on the bar.
Okay.
Okay. And then I will mimic a fanfare to try to get people's attention. Yeah, exactly. And then I will tell a joke. I'll say a woman has twins and gives them up for adoption. One of them goes to a family in Waterdeep and is named Amal. The other goes to a family in Baldur's Gate. They named him Juan. Years later, Juan sends a picture to of himself to his birth mother. Upon receiving the picture, she tells her husband that she wishes she also had a picture of Amal. He responds, they're twins. If you've seen Juan, you've seen them all.
Roll performance for me.
Sure.
Oh, wow. 25 performance. You hear some claps around. And the loudest claps you notice are coming from a table over in the corner over here, where there are 3 men seated, one of which is wearing what looks like a black coat, and starts clapping and stands up and claps loudly at you all. And the proprietor of the bar, who I don't think you've asked his name, but he looks over at you and says, that was quite the joke. Are you a comedian? What's your name?
I'm 2. This is my crew.
He reaches out to shake your hand and says, he reaches out to shake your flipper hand or whatever you have and says, Owen Tarsnell.
Pleasure.
That was good. You do you collect do you put on stage shows?
From time to time. I've been known to put on a residency in cities that I'm in, if they'll let me.
Well, if you're willing to put on said show, I will give you the run of the place. And you start hearing like clapping and a couple of the tables. The gentleman in the black coat stands up and says, "Aye, Mr. Comedian, let's have a show."
Yeah, I'll tell a couple more jokes.
Okay.
And then once I finish the set, I'll attempt to do a front flip off the bar again and land and then to a bow.
Oh, wow. So roll me a performance check and an acrobatics check. You can guide yourself since you planned on this.
Sure. Okay. Performance. Looks like I need a guidance.
Well.
And then acrobatics. And we'll guide myself again just because why not?
Yep. With a 12 and a 15, there's some claps around the room. The proprietor of the bar says, you get a couple of, you get like 10 silver pieces tossed your way in terms of sort of tips and things. He says, Well, I suppose you've earned at least your room for the night with 10 silver pieces. And
Thank you.
the man that sort of said, let's have a show, stands up and says, you there, travelers, comedian, come here.
Jeff, is this the guy that the bartender was like subtly eyeing?
Yes.
Okay.
Toot will walk over.
As you walk over, he says, man in the black coat looks over at you and says, you, Mr. As if to ask your name.
Toot.
Toot.
I bow again.
He extends a hand and says, Nerith Maxillendar.
Okay. I'll take his hand.
He says, I'm speaker of this town. What brings you to my fair city?
Well,
roll perception too. Or perception too. Roll actually perception and insight. Okay. With a 16 perception as you walk up, you notice that the two men that are seated next to him each have what looks like a sort of twisted looking dagger on their belts. And they look sort of a bit, the two men that are seated next to him look sort of a bit rough. They've got some scars and a couple of tattoos on them. And speaker man Nerith Maxillendar has a broad grin on his face as he says, what brings you to my fair town?
oh, we're just traveling,
Oh, I see.
picking up odd jobs here and there.
Are all these people with you?
They are.
And what are their names?
We're Toot's crew.
Do you come over and say that?
Yeah.
He's motioned for you to come over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will
when-
gesture. Go ahead.
When Toot walked over, I sort of followed, hanging back because it seemed like he wanted our party.
Yeah, he sort of has motioned for the rest of you to come over. As you walk over, Leonard, a couple of these other people that are sitting at the bar sort of turn their chairs around and sort of move up. And you can see that these are also tougher looking men that each have what looks like a sort of a curved looking dagger on their belts.
So as he asks their name, I will point to each of them and I will say their name in their voice as if they are introducing themselves.
Oh, well. He says, very clever trick that is.
As he's saying everyone's name before mine, I'm going to stare him down.
Beat him and I'll say, very clever trick that is, in his voice.
Interesting. So you're just traveling doing odd jobs. Are you on a job now?
Well, we're at least on our way to investigate something. We've heard about a monster that's disrupting the food supply.
Yes, indeed. Some terrible beast sinking boats. It's most recently been striking near Bremen, but even the fishing boats out of Targos have not been able to go out.
What can you tell us of this?
There's rumors mostly. I think personally it's mostly fishtails. But fishermen speak of, some say it's as big as a horse, some say as big as an ox, others say a whale. Some people even said it's like a water dragon. If you ask me, it's mostly a bunch of scrimshanders that don't want to go out in the cold. Rumors get started and people are afraid. We're doing what we can to protect the citizens, but the boats still need to go out. But if you're investigating that, if anything you can do to settle the nerves of the fishermen, that would be a boon to us. So yes,
He
indeed.
doesn't say anything, he just nods.
And he looks back at you, Harkus, who's staring who's staring him down, and he looks over at you and says, "And you're Harkus, eh? Where do you hail from?"
South.
I see. Well, stay warm here, Mr. Harkus.
I intend to.
Well, I think I and my men have some affairs to attend to, so I'll bid you all good night. And he leaves, heading through which is sort of interesting to you, heading through a staircase in the back. There's like a spiral staircase right over here that he and 3 of his men sort of head up, and go up somewhere. The other man sort of looks over at you and sort of, the one remaining man sort of looks over at you all and kind of goes, and he sort of brushes past and kind of like brushes past you, Harkus, as he makes his way out of the bar.
Does he touch Harkus?
Just kind of brushes by him.
Like shoulder checks him or just
No, not exactly. It was a little bit aggressive, maybe. He doesn't like hit him with his shoulder, but there's maybe a little bit of "we're not afraid of you." Since Harkus was kind of intimidating or trying to intimidate.
I was actually staring at Toot.
Oh, okay. I thought you were.
By the way, just as we've already gone down this path,
I've misread the situation. I thought you were staring down the man in the coat.
no, I was staring down Toot because I didn't want Toot to give him my name.
Okay, well,
Oh
then he
shit!
doesn't,
Sorry.
Then he does not shoulder check you as he passes them. The sort of like slightly intimidating air is still the same.
Sorry, I've totally introduced you all before in this manner. It didn't occur to Toot not to do so, so you're gonna have to tell him not to do that.
Family
Or to
meeting.
say something else, yeah.
As they leave, Owen Tarsnell leans over the bar and says, "I told you to be careful."
What did we do?
He just said, he says, he looks over you and says, Nerith is powerful, and he has sometimes dangerous friends. Just don't get on his bad side.
So does he live here? He went upstairs.
Yes, this is his residence. It is the inn, and I run it, but this is also Nerith's residence.
So you work for him?
Sort of. The Luskan Arms is the oldest establishment in all of the 10 towns, and traditionally the speaker's residence is here. I don't really work for him so much as like the speaker is granted residence here. If that makes sense.
Like a perk of the job.
Yeah. But Nerith
So
is
does he have
able to-
like a lot of space with like a lot of windows and
he's got the largest room here. Owen says, if you're all having rooms, I'd advise that we're really one of the only inns in town. It'll be 10 silver pieces for a room. I'm sorry, no, 5 silver pieces for a room. Apologies. So 2 rooms. So you and a person have a room. And we'll need 15 more silver pieces or 2 gold for the rest.
I'll flip the 2 gold out.
Or I'm sorry, yeah, 2 gold. Yep. You flip the 2 gold, and he passes you all keys to rooms.
Are our rooms upstairs?
Aye, rooms are upstairs.
All right.
You heading upstairs?
Yeah, I'm gonna get another ale.
Okay. He's willing to
And
give you
then-
another ale. An ale is a silver piece.
Yes, I'll take it, and I'll take it in a to-go cup.
He sort of laughs at that notion and says, I don't really know what a to-go cup is, but you drink your ale in the bar, master.
Fine. Drink it in the
He
bar.
says, the glasses of the bars. I can't have you running off with a glassware. You know how hard it is to get glassware?
Especially now.
Aye. These came all the way from Luskin. In the city of sails in its heyday. And the glasses actually have like nautical themes to them.
Bush.
Apologies. Yeah. So you have another ale, and anybody doing anything else in the bar, or just taking a room?
One to the room.
Okay. You are. I will take you all upstairs. Shows you to the upstairs corridor. Which is up here. And there are several rooms. And I do not have the dynamic lighting set up for it, so you're able to see everything. But you'll have to use your imagination for said walls. You have keys to these 5 rooms. So like something like this. And we'll put Ordella somewhere. Bella's over there. Everybody turning in for the evening.
Well, did I see or know that Harkus had a problem with me introducing him like that? Did I recognize any of that?
I don't know. Why don't you roll insight? Let's see. Beat a DC 10. You roll better than a 10 insight. You got it?
No.
No. You didn't.
Okay. I got
Right.
it.
All right. Everybody just going to sleep? Anybody do anything else? Leonard, what are you doing? Are you just pitching up?
I'm gonna like take up watch here.
Okay.
Like just in the hallway.
Yeah.
Like right outside this big room.
Yeah.
Which I assume, since the biggest room is the speakers, that I at least have an inkling that he's in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can hear anything.
Okay. Roll
As
roll perception. Are you doing anything to help yourself, like hear better?
No, I had planned just to like statue form, like just while I'm in my watch pose.
Okay. With a DC 10 perception, you hear voices talking, and the words that you catch that you know are you hear something about the guild. You don't know like what exactly they mean by that. You hear something about the guild, and then you hear hang on. Sorry, wrong thing. Apologies. Much apologies. You hear something about the guild, and then you hear something about You hear something about Shindar Froth. You recognize.
Wait, that was the guy who got murdered?
Yes.
Huh. Well, I'm going to then just like let everybody know that the guys are talking about the murdered guy in case anybody wants to investigate further.
Roll insight. Or yeah, I think insight. Everybody can roll insight. So you guys remember this. I'm gonna say a 17 makes it. You can guide yourself. So I'm gonna say with guidance, a 17 would make it. I had set the DC at 18, but since you can guide yourself, that's enough for you to get it. Shindar Froth, you've heard that name before, now that you've heard it mentioned a couple of times. And you remember that Shindar Froth was not from Targos. You remember that Shindar Froth was from Goodmead. And you recall that he was the alternative speaker candidate.
I did know that. Okay.
And you hear them talking about Shindar Froth and him getting killed, and then you heard about them talking about his number came up here in Targos. Like, that doesn't make much sense.
Well, we know that he was trying to get help. Was it from here?
You knew that he had gone to Targos to talk to his contacts, whatever said contacts were, and that somehow he's found the axe here. That's what you remember.
I mean, as soon as I catch that, I think I'm gonna bring everybody together and make sure that everybody's on the same page, and see, do we want to investigate more here, or what do we want to do? So I'm assuming at this point, not very many people have even gotten to sleep.
Yeah. So yeah, you gather up in Toot's room, I guess.
Sure.
As Toot tells you he's remembered something important based on what Leonard just said. Leonard says, they're talking about that Shindar guy, and all of a sudden it just clicks in your mind, Toot. I remember that name.
So yeah, I'll mention it to all of them.
I mean, Leonard is curious. He would love to know more, but given that he fudged it with the bartender, he's not going to take the lead on any social or covert engagements. So I support what you guys want to do. I would like answers, but I don't know the best way to move forward.
Well, it's the middle of the night. Perhaps we should all get some rest and find answers in the morning, or should we? Do you want to knock on that door, or do you want to tell him that we overheard?
I say I'm built for beauty, not subterfuge. So I mean, it won't be me, probably.
If we're prepared to, murk this guy in the middle of the night, we can interrogate him, but I don't know. No, that sounds like a great plan to Leonard, but so does anything else.
I feel like it's probably better to set a watch and get some sleep.
Okay.
because I have
are we
a
doing?
very uneasy feeling about what just happened.
I think 2 agrees with that.
The words of Hill and Trollbane are echoing in your mind now, Toot, that she doesn't trust the authorities in any of these towns to turn over the killer to.
Okay.
So you're setting watches?
Yes.
Who's got
I'll
first
take
watch?
the first. I'll
Okay,
take
who's
the
got
first.
second?
I can take it.
Then your third, Hawkins? And
Yeah,
who's
I'll do
fourth?
third.
And I'll take last watch since I get a full rest at 6 hours.
Yeah. Are you all in one room, or are you going back to your rooms?
I feel like we should be in a room.
Okay.
Just
Just sort of setting up camp in a room.
yeah.
All right. Roll me perception, then Granite Guts at third watch.
Okay.
Are you leaving the room, or are you just listening?
Oh, I will be right outside the door, just kind of sitting on the floor outside.
Okay. Roll perception real fast.
And
Rolled a 20.
Yep, I rolled 20.
Okay, you hear a sound that you are certain is the sound of a window opening and closing. After a few minutes, it opens and then closes, and then you hear a door open, and you see all 4 of these men. This is late at night, walking by. And as they pass you, Nerith looks over at you and says, "Up late, Master Granite Guts, I see."
Oh, yes. Sometimes I have trouble sleep. I snore, and I wake myself up.
Oh, well.
And
Didn't bring the CPAP machine.
I just got to
Perhaps-
doze back off.
I hear of a magical invention that can sometimes fix this. It is a box of blowing that you can attach to your face. But perhaps another time. It says, I have business to attend to. The fish never sleep, so to speak.
They do indeed. Does your snoring wake you up too?
Many things wake me up, Mr. Granite Guts. Many things keep me up at night. I am charged with the safety and protection of the citizens of my fair city.
Heavy's the head that wears the crown, as I say.
Indeed. Good day to you, Master Granite Guts.
Good evening.
And the 4 of them pass by and leave.
I guess I shouldn't have stuck up my leg to trip them as they went by.
Did you try to trip them?
No, absolutely not.
Like, hold on, let me retcon this. Did that happen?
No.
Okay. Okay. The rest of the watch has passed without event, and it is morning time.
You tell us that they left.
So,
Do you wake people up?
Was there another watch after me?
Yes, there is another watch after
Mhm.
you. Do you wake everybody else up and say, "Hey, they left"?
No. Who is it?
That's
Leonard.
Leonard. Okay, so I say, "Hey, Leonard. So the chickens have flown the coop.
There were chickens.
They're chickens. Okay, so
There were chicken. I didn't know there were chickens.
sometimes when people are in places and they leave, there's a saying that chickens have flown the coop when they're no longer there. So the people who were in that bedroom, they walked past me during my watch, and I didn't want to start a fight, so I just let them go. So
And he's a chicken.
and well,
Does,
I don't
does
think
Toot know?
I don't think so. We should ask Toot about this in the morning, but I don't think so. So do you think we still need to keep a watch, or I'll leave it up to you, my good man? And I just sort of pat you on the back and then toddle off into the room, and then you hear very loud snoring in about a minute and a half.
I think this is when you find out that Toot talks in his sleep, and it's the voice of Hill and Trollbane saying, euphemisms don't suit you, do they?
So effectively, I've just really, really, really confused Leonard.
Yeah. So Leonard is standing outside the door for the remainder of the watch looking for chickens.
Yep.
Like listening for chickens, like.
You hear no sounds of chickens. There's no clucking. There's no nothing.
Making a nest out there.
Actually, Leonard, roll me perception.
You might hear chickens. This is fantastic.
13. Leonard, you hear the sounds of some wings flapping that you're convinced is a chicken.
Where do I hear that?
Coming from the speaker's room.
I'm gonna slowly approach.
Door's over here.
Oh.
Door's locked. I can set the dynamic lighting to make it invisible to you if you like.
Do I really hear flapping?
Yeah, as you put your ear to it, you heard it. You're sure you heard it.
Okay. I'm gonna see if I can get in the room.
Do you have lockpicks?
I have thieves' tools and proficiency with them.
Okay, so roll me a dexterity check. Add your proficiency bonus. There's no disadvantage because you have the tools to do this. Yeah.
Fine.
The lock is too much for you. You've tried and tried and tried, but this lock is too much. You think to yourself you'd have to break the door to get in. Like your skills just are not enough to master this lock.
No, that's fine. I'm not gonna break down a door. I'll just tell everybody about the chickens in the morning.
Okay. Well, it's morning time, and Leonard, you tell everybody about the chickens.
Yeah, I'll tell them.
There is indeed a chicken.
Cadillac said that the chickens had flown the coop, but I very distinctly heard flapping after that. The chickens are still in the coop.
I think wide awake this time I'll repeat the phrase, euphemisms don't suit you, do they? In Hill and Trollbane's voice.
So I give a huge belly laugh, and then I explain what I told, what happened last night during my watch, and then what I told Leonard. But then I sort of at the end turn around and say, so do you mean to tell me there's actually a chicken in that bedroom?
Leonard is convinced yes.
It sounds like there's a chicken.
It flaps.
It flaps.
It flapped. Not, I shouldn't say flaps, it flapped.
There's a Flappy Bird in there. A presumptive chicken.
So Toot, I don't want to be racist, but can you discern different types of flaps?
How rude. But no, can I hear this?
I'll try to reproduce the
door.
sound.
Go over to the door or roll perception. Are you going to try to reproduce it? Roll performance.
Yeah, I'll try to imitate the flap.
I think with a 13, you just you go.
I think Toot would have heard the sound of flapping before from a chicken. And oh, it should be, and he'll perfectly mimic the sound, but it should.
When Toot perfectly mimics the sound of a chicken, this sounded nothing like that, Leonard.
Okay, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
And Toot just shakes his head and walks over to the doors. Let me listen.
Roll perception.
Can I guide myself?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll and see.
Okay. Yep.
No, it is dead silent. All you hear is silence. Whatever Leonard heard before, you don't hear. The door is jammed locked. quite tightly. It seems to be quite a secure door, as on top of the door, there's a little sign that sort of says it says speaker's residence, and it has Nerith Maxillendar next to it.
Granite Guts, do you mention anything else about your watch to us?
Well, I mentioned the fact that they left and we had a little bit of a conversation, and then they just passed.
You didn't mention what happened before that?
They opened the door to the room to leave.
No.
That's all I needed to know.
Oh,
No.
that's fine. That's what I was waiting on too.
The answer is nope. He sure doesn't
All right.
mention the sound of the window opening and then closing.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Yep, you sure did.
Both Cadillac and I
Yep.
completely forgot about
That's
that.
that information is lost to the
Lost
ether.
to time.
100% on brand.
I mean, he took the third watch. I can't help you there. Yeah, the next morning happens. Are you guys heading outside, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm ready to face the day. And
As you step outside, and I'm going to change the tone here, although I do love this tone.
I feel like a ninja's going to jump out at any moment.
Yeah. Alas, no. As you step outside onto the streets of Targos, you see, as you're sort of stepping out, I'll describe the scene to you. You're trudging through the snow. It's just like crunching beneath your feet. In the distance, you hear the sound of a dog barking. As this, what looks like a sled dog, comes running up to all of you, and he like sort of starts barking at you, and then turning, and then sort of moving the other direction, and he's dragging behind him what looks like a broken leather harness, and he has what looks like a collar on him.
I'm going to bend down and see if he can come to me and take a look at the harness.
Roll animal handling.
Okay.
Yeah, he comes over to you as you extend your hand down, and he has a little tag on him and a harness. The harness is made out of leather and broken, and the tag says "boy" on it. And he, as you sort of lean down, he like turns and sort of starts moving away from you, like sort of jogging, and then turns and stops and looks back at you and barks. And then sort of like starts moving away, looks back at you and barks, then comes back to you, barks a little bit more, and then starts moving away.
All right. I'm just going to sort of turn and look at the group, and then I'm going to turn back to the dog and start going
yeah,
after.
I'll follow the dog. Curiosity.
Okay, the dog starts moving through the streets and looking back at you as you are following it, and he starts picking up pace, as if to tell you to, as if he sort of seems to be saying, "This way, come, follow." Eventually, you follow said puppy dog until you arrive at a house. There is a pretty little house that the dog leads you up to. I didn't have the dog on this screen, so I should. One moment, let me get the dog. How could I have not the dog?
The dog's the focal point of this campaign right now.
The dog is everything. Everything about this campaign is now like dependent upon the dog. Let me get the dog. All right, the dog leads you up to this house here. Turns, looks at you all, barks a couple of times and then runs up to the porch and just starts going, sits down and starts and like looks back at the house and then looks at you all.
I think during all of this, Toot would absolutely bark back at the dog.
When you bark back at the dog, it barks at you. And as the dog is barking, the door opens and a man opens the door. Let me make sure he's on the right layer. Man opens the door, and he is sort of a svelte-looking man, and he leans over and says, Boy, what are you doing here? And he looks over at all of you, and the dog just races inside. When he sees all of you, the smile that's on his face sort of like drops a bit. And he looks over at all of you and says, Come inside. Come inside.
Okay.
He leads you all in. And he says, You're not Garrett, are you? Of course not. What am I even saying? And the dog comes in and sort of sits down on one of the chairs. And he says, do you know where he is? What happened?
I don't know who that is. We found the dog brought us here from town.
And he sort of puts his head in his hands and says, Oh, gods. He looks over and he says, My name is Keegan. He says, Garrett, no. Garrett is my husband. And Boy would be with him. He wouldn't be here if...
Where was he?
He looks over at you and says, a few days ago, Garrett was hired by some adventurers to lead them up the slopes of Kelvin's Cairn. He planned to take them over to Caer Cornig, the town that's at the foot of the mountain, and they were going to get some climbing gear there from an outfitter, and he was supposed to lead them up the mountain. He took 6 dogs and a sled with him, and Boy here was Garrett's favorite. Raised him from a pup. Boy would never leave Garrett's side. He said, I was born in the 10 Towns, but he came from a wealthy family and never went to. He never cared for city life, and he was always working as a guide, loved the outdoors, loved to climb. It was his real passion. It's why he's here. Boy would have never left him unless something terrible had happened. This was about 5 days ago. Boy's here with you. I can't even imagine. And he sort of puts his head in his hands and kind of like starts to sob a little bit.
So if anyone were going after him, would they need climbing gear? I mean, he was climbing up the mountain with the group he was leading?
Yes, he would have. His plan was to head over to Caer Cornig and find the outfitter there. And they would get climbing gear and all the things that you would need to make your way up. Pick up supplies at the outfitters. And he looks over at all of you and says, You all look like the adventuring sort. I've never seen you carrying... Is that a lance?
Yes, it is.
How do you, and he goes like, how do you... Never mind. He says,
even get that in the door.
He looks at you all and says, it's a lot to ask, but if I could persuade you to go up there and find Garrett and his companions. I don't have any money, but I am fairly good friends with Owen Tarsnell. He runs the Luskin Arms. I could maybe get you free rooms, or you see, I'm just a scrimshander by trade. I could give you some of my artwork. It's not very good, I must confess, but it's what I have.
So do you know what the adventurers were after that he was helping?
No, they just some group of adventurers climbing the slopes. We were just hired. He was just hired as a guide. I don't know what they were after.
Do you know who they were?
No. Group of men and maybe a dwarf, I think.
Well, I would think that maybe they hadn't had time to start the climb because the harness is broken.
Oh,
Which
gods,
makes
I
me
would
think
hope.
that they had to be sledding or traveling with the dogs.
Boy would have never left Garrett's side.
Maybe Boy can lead us to him if we're in it. It's easy to get Leonard to investigate literally anything. If there's a question with a potential answer, Leonard is right there for it. But
He looks over at you and says, "Sir, if it's all the same, I don't want Boy to leave my side. I guess if you think he could lead you to him, maybe, but gods, I don't want to let him go." Roll persuasion.
persuasion.
If you're trying to persuade him to say, "Let us take the
Yes.
dog."
Well, I'm just thinking our likelihood of finding absolutely nothing, needle in a haystack, versus our likelihood of finding someone before they turn into a popsicle corpse. The dog can probably help.
He looks over at you and says, I can't bear it. No, please. If you go that way, look for him. Can I offer you food, drink, anything?
I'm good. I can't get a dog companion.
You could have. You rolled a 2 on your persuasion check.
No, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, you see that roll there. I would have given you a dog companion. There's that roll. It's a 2.
I walk over and start petting the dog since I've already become friends with the dog.
I gotta stop talking. My rolling.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. Keegan is not gonna let the dog go. You could maybe steal the dog. There was one person trying to persuade the owner to let the dog go. That failed. Unless you have a really solid case, like you could say, "I am a tracker. Here's my proof. I need the dog."
Well, if we...
Sometimes you fail, and failure has consequences.
True.
Can I talk to the dog? Can I be like, can I just sort of, boy,
Yeah.
you want to go find your dad? And he'll get excited, and surely that will convince him to let the dog go.
Yeah, you start leaning over and talking to the dog. The dog barks. Keegan picks the dog up and just starts petting it.
So I speak up from the couch and I say, well, if we don't have the dog, if we move quickly, we might be able to track his where he came from in the snow, but we'd have to move very quickly before the snowfall covers his tracks.
That would be a blessing. And he gets out the map of the Icewind Dale. He says, you guys are here in Targos. He was taking his party from Caer Konig, which is here, to Kelvin's Cairn here. About 20 miles across the tundra. If we go by road, yeah, about 25 to 30 miles across if you take roadways. If you're just putting everything down and heading that way. The dog has come a long way. Which I think we can decide next time. Rime of the Frostmaiden, when you guys return, you're in Targos, where you learned about a missing guide, a missing wilderness guide with his dog. And murders have happened. You've learned that they headed out. You know they were heading towards Bremen, and you've told the speaker of town, Nereth Maxillendar, that you're interested in the beast, and that you have plans to deal with this threat. And yeah, I think that's where we're at. Sorry there was no combat tonight, guys. I hope everybody had a good time. This wound up being a lot of role play. I'm gonna guess there'll probably be combat next time. Just my guess, depending on what you guys do. I hope everybody had fun with this one, even though it was just a bunch of role play.
That was good.
A bit of mystery unfolding. I really love the structure of this campaign. I'm really, really enjoying running this. I hope you guys are enjoying playing it as much as I'm enjoying running it.
I really like it. I would like it more if I had a puppy. I'm not gonna lie.
I would like it more if you rolled better than a 2 on your persuasion check.
Or a chick. No, I have failed at animal acquisition. I failed at chicken acquisition. I failed at puppy acquisition.
Yeah, you couldn't pick a lock.
I will have an animal before this campaign is over.
Yeah, okay.
The thing I'm most upset about is that I was going to do exactly the same thing, and he beat me to it and then sucked it up.
Yeah. So you just got to speak up and say what you're going to do, and then I'll tell you what to roll. You just tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you what you roll. But I'm typically only going to allow one person to attempt to do one thing.
No, that's fair. Otherwise, it's just rolling until we get the puppies.
Right.
Yeah, there has to be some consequence to failure. Like if you can't fail, then it's no good. Like you have to be able to fail. I would have given you the dog companion if you had rolled better. It was not a very high DC because you had a good argument for why you needed the dog. It was literally like a DC 10. You just had to beat a 10. You rolled a 2.
I'm just happy. I'm just happy we got to meet Fantasy Lassie.
Yeah. You did.
Fortunately for Toot, Leonard's now the one getting the stink eye.
All right. Leonard has now changed his flamethrower turret into a mechanical version of Boy.
Oh, okay.
That breathes fire.
That breathes fire. A fire-breathing dog. So it can't fly.
Fire-breathing dog cannon.
So it can't fly. It's just now runs across the ground.
Right.
All right. I hope everybody had a good time, and I thought this was a pretty good one. Thanks for playing, everybody. We'll see you again next week, where we'll figure out what's going to happen.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
See you guys.